Okay, so the recording has started for the second part of the session. I went to go and get my Christmas hat. My Christmas jumper is in the loft, so I couldn't get that today, but hopefully my Christmas hat will suffice. And lovely to see Fionn and Jonathan in their Christmas jumpers too. And I saw Brian's Christmas jumper. That's really, really festive. Okay, so for the second part of this session, it's a much more open session. We'll start with some questions and an open discussion if anybody had things that they wanted to discuss that might have come up from the first session's presentations. Lovely to see Anna's Christmas hat there as well. And then we'll have some cultural activities, and this is from people who are part of the steering group and who would like to share their work about that is as represented through music or through poetry. And we'll have some Christmas and traditional Irish music from Fionn Angus and Jonathan Angus, a poem by Pauline Skehan, and then some pop-up ideas if anybody wanted to contribute to that session just before we close.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and open the questions and open discussion session, and I'll try and monitor the chat as well. Can I just ask if anybody wants to raise a question, just to make sure that people get an opportunity to speak? If you could use the icons to raise your hands, that would be very helpful. Don't see any hands coming up. Does anybody have a question that they'd like to ask or a point that they'd like to make? I know participant payments came up. Gerard.
You're on, Jer.
Okay. Well, from I think inclusive research and all that, I've been to so many places since we started in 2008. So especially because of this group, because yes, it is an important Congress, and I think it's great to be part of it today. I mean, can you compare me to Fionn and Jonathan? My God, look at so worldwide people, just like myself and Rob. And just all I can say, and thank you all the organizers for today. You're brilliant. You're brilliant.
Well done, Jay. You're back in the fold anyway. You've been doing a course for 2 years, so you've not been doing our research, have you? But you're back in the fold.
Yeah, I know from the beginning, when I did the course, yes, I wouldn't have time. But when I got straight away from the course, and now I'm back.
Thank you so much for those lovely comments. I appreciate that a lot. Deirdre. Deirdre Corby?
Hi, I've just unmuted myself there. I hope you can hear me.
Can, thank you.
Okay, my question really is about easy to read documents and easy to read versions of research. I'm just curious, for people with disability, are these good? Do people like them? Are they best practice? I've used them myself and shared them. I'm just curious what people generally think about easy to read documents. Thank you.
So Fionn would like to say something about easy read documents. You've been exposed to quite a few of them through your work to get the Down syndrome bill passed through the UK Parliament.
Yes. Well, sometimes they can be quite useful, but for the most part, they do look quite silly.
Yeah, the pictures are often a stretch, and if you just if you just think about the pictures on their own, it doesn't really give you any information. And now there's many exceptions to that.
Yeah.
We saw Amanda was putting together an easy read. I think it was you, Amanda, where it was there was a map, and that can be quite something, right?
Oh, yeah.
That tells you information. Yes. But a picture of someone putting a thumbs up, is it really adding a lot of value? On the other hand, other ways of communicating information to people who don't read at all, or people who have difficulty understanding through the written word, can be very useful.
Yeah.
Right? Like the project you're doing with the Digi Academy.
Yes.
And some of the others on the call are also working on that project through Trinity College.
Yes.
And with partners in 5 other European countries. And in that case, you're making short videos to explain things.
Yeah.
And so video would be one example of an additional way to communicate that can be quite helpful to people who aren't as comfortable with reading.
Yeah.
Anything else to say?
That's pretty much that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just to comment on that, I'd be really interested in exploring this further within this research SERG, because I think one of the things that happens with easy to read, for example, is exactly what Fionn and Jonathan have just said, that that sometimes the pictures don't work, sometimes they're not suitable, and I think it's better to have an easy to read document than not to have it at all. But I think there's something we could do better in relation to that, and I think that even having a reference group of people with disabilities to review the documents before they're presented to other people with disabilities would be useful. And I think it would be a very good role of this research SERG, our inclusive research SERG, to consider dissemination and how research is shared generally, because sometimes it mightn't be possible or easy for people with disability to be included in research from the beginning. But at least if we could make sure everybody gets to hear the research findings in a way that they can understand them, at least we'll be doing something better maybe. So that's just my comments, and thanks very much for everything today. I'll stay quiet now.
Yeah, well, Christina Barkham, what's your name again?
Oh, Christina, thank you. Are you responding to Deirdre?
Yes. What I'm saying is, because I'm well up in those matters, because there's a lady, she lives in Navan, Fiona Weldon, and she does documents for easy read in these situations, and that you do have to look into these matters.
That's really helpful thought for us all to consider. Thank you so much, Christina, for mentioning that.
Can I ask Fionn and Jonathan something? I'm just thinking that, you know, as a father and son, right?
What, John?
No, I'm talking to Fionn and Jonathan. You know, like a father and son, good person. I mean, compare that to me and my own dad. My dad wouldn't go around to different countries. You know what I mean? But I think he have good relationship. I couldn't get my dad going around to different countries, except my dad kind of thing. But I just would say, it's great to have it. But what me and Jonathan have is being a Down syndrome, and that is more important.
Wow, wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you, Jared.
Yeah, thank you, Jared.
I would say also that, that our relationship has taught me, it connects to what Deirdre was saying, the important thing about easy read, the process of translating into easy read is to consider the way that we communicate and to realize that we don't have to be complicated, that sometimes we want to use specific words, and that can be really important. But those words need to be, everyone needs to be on the same page with those words. So just slowing things down and thinking about how you speak. And Amanda, I must say, you've showed us a wonderful example of that with the way that you're hosting this meeting today, in really speaking very intentionally and clearly. That's, easy, the auditory version of easy read. And I think we should always do that, because actually we all benefit from that.
Yes, we do.
So so there's that. And George, thank you so much for acknowledging.
Talking about easy reading, this is
We
the
have.
one from our yesterday's discussion. Remember that one?
Oh, yes, yes.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic.
It could be in all our yesterday's conference.
That would be really helpful for us to share. Thank you very much, Gerard, for mentioning that too, and to Fionn, Jonathan, and Christina for your comments. I'm aware we have some others who wanted to share their comments and questions, so I'm going to invite Dr. Kahonde, and then Sophie Sargent, and then Rob.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Kalista Kahonde from Cape Town, South Africa. Thank you very much for this discussion on easy to read. I found it quite exciting because I recently went through training on easy to read to try and make my research accessible to the participants. And I really look forward to learning more from this SEG around this issue. But my main question is, from our region in Africa, inclusive research is not something that is yet common at all, but it's something that I'm very interested in. So I just wanted to ask, are there opportunities for supporting novice researchers or mentoring from the special interest group, especially from areas like where I am, where there are not many of us actually working in this area? Is there opportunities that the SEG can be able to support us, and how does one go about seeking that support? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kalista, and I'll respond to that because mentoring is a big passion of mine, to support people not only in everyday life with stresses and anxiety in their well-being, but also to support people in their professional career development, to be the kinds of researchers that they would like to be and make a positive difference. So I am very willing to put my hand up and say that I would love to champion that mentoring initiative. Thank you so much for suggesting that.
That is so great to hear, Amanda. Thank you. Thank you. I'm very excited to hear that.
Okay, Sophie.
Yes, thank you, Amanda. Good afternoon or good evening or good morning to all of you. I have enjoyed this meeting, and I would like to add something in discussion about Easy Read. With our inclusive research group, we were thinking about how to translate our results in written English in academic articles. How could we translate them in order for people to understand them? And we have had discussions with people with disabilities and with artists. And I think we need the artists here. We need the people who make visuals, who can make films, who can make beautiful podcasts. So this is what I try to do, is also to work together with art students, because we can afford to pay art students, but not sometimes to pay the artists. So I just want to add this in the discussion. We need to go to other fields where there is knowledge of visuals and sound and ways of translating our words into other beautiful forms.
Thank you, Sophie. That's a really helpful suggestion, and actually is a really nice way of leading into the creative portion of this afternoon session. I'll just go to Rob before we do move into the creative portion.
Oh yes, okay. Am I on? I am on. I'll write these up in the chat. It's just Ackerson. People do forget about blind and deaf people out there, and I try to fight for them too.
Rob, we're slightly losing your
idea that there are people with disability and yes, is the Wi-Fi is a bit iffy out on the west coast of Ireland, right?
Back in the west.
So yeah, just to say that I'll put those ideas that Lisa has there onto the chat area, and I just noticed that Brian had his hand up there, Amanda, before possibly we go singing and carousing and dancing.
Thank you so much. Yes, please. Thank you. And thank you, Rob. If you could add that into the chat, that would be really helpful. And Brian.
Just around the easy read, it would be a lot handier if the pictures could match the text box.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic suggestion.
Because a lot of the time, the pictures that's put with easy read has nothing to do with the text box beside it.
Yeah, that's
I'm one of these that pushes for these kind of things, like. I don't know, do you understand what I meant, like? But
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that Fionn was saying earlier also, is that sometimes the pictures are helpful and sometimes they're not. And this is one of the things that we are really aware of in this inclusive research group, and why it's so important for everybody here today to be part of that, to tell us, to tell not only us but everybody else that we work with what is working and what is not working.
Yes.
And so we're very excited for our future meetings, not only the big event meetings that we'll have, but just our regular meetings about how we do inclusive research, for everybody to contribute and to share their thoughts and ideas about that. So thank you everybody for your questions. I can see no more questions at this point, but there is always an opportunity for us to continue the conversation. So I think this is hopefully a good time to move into the creative section of our session today. And thank you for those who are staying with us. I'm going to hand over to Fionn Crombie Angus and Jonathan Angus, who will be performing some Christmas music and traditional Irish music for us.
Okay.
Can I just ask everybody else just to put your microphones on mute, please, so that there is no so this.
Whoops. Okay, we're off mute. And we have one of each to share with you.
Yes, we do. Yeah, so it's an Irish tune. It's a ballad from the Aran Islands on the border of counties Clare and Galway on the west coast of Ireland.
And you are off the west coast of Ireland.
Yes.
So you could say that that Ireland is an island off the west coast of Europe.
Yeah.
And Inisheer is one of the Aran Islands, which are a little group of islands that are off the west coast of Ireland.
Yes.
So it's about as close as you get to America.
Yeah.
From Ireland.
Yeah.
From Europe, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
And there are three islands. And what are the names of the three islands?
So there's Inisheer, Inishmaan, and Inishmore.
Yes. And this one, about the smallest of the three, Inisheer, was written actually by a man from Dublin.
That's right.
By a Dub who came out to visit the islands and was so inspired that he wrote this beautiful tune.
Yes, and his name who wrote this tune is Thomas Wallace, and he's from Dublin. And moving right on to Christmas, one of my favorite seasons to celebrate, and this wonderful Christmas carol is called Jingle Bells.
Sing along if you'd like.
Yes.
With your mic turned off.
Yes.
Or on, we don't mind.
Yes, exactly.
That was such a treat. Thank you so much, Fionn and Jonathan. That was really, really lovely to hear.
Pleasure. Yes. Thank you.
I'd now like to invite Pauline, who will be sharing a poem. And Pauline can also say a little bit about her work as a radio show host. Pauline, are you still with us? Oh, you're on mute, Pauline.
Yep.
Well, I'm Pauline Skean, Fort Road, Capital Rush, County Clare, and I composed my own poem. This poem is about what advocacy means to me and to other people too. The group to flourish, the group to replenish, I call it. The thing I like about research, it helps prevent people from being in the lurch. I am an advocate and I have a calling. When people ask me for help, I hear their calling. I am with the Clare Inclusive Research Network. They are a nice group of people and it's a lot of work. I am experienced 10 years. I have the ability to help people with disabilities. Some people are in trouble and taken advantage of at times. Some people are often belittled. It should be considered a crime. Through the Clare Inclusive Research Network, it's a job to help people with disabilities when they are in trouble, when they sob. The Clare Inclusive Research Network have the ability to help people in trouble and seal the rift and add stability. Since the COVID-19, we've done our work on Zoom, the Clare Inclusive Research Network from home. Yes, perchance I meet a lot of interesting people on Zoom. I enjoy my work, my heart to assume. I hope the Clare Inclusive Research Network continues to flourish and with helping people to replenish. It's enjoyment to me, and the day is always sunny and clear. That's about helping people in trouble who are belittled, and downtrodden. And the Clare Inclusive Research do all they can to help. And I feel very strongly about it. I have a calling to be an advocate. And Hopkins has helped me so much. I've been 10 years with the Clare Inclusive Research Network. I've vast experience. I've listened to a lot, but there's a lot going on out in the world we do not know about. Encourage people to speak up, fight up for their independence and their choices. Thank you. And thank you for a lovely day.
Amanda, you're on mute.
I am on mute. Thank you, Jonathan. You are my unmute button. Thank you so much, Pauline. That was so well said and is the representation. It's the reason why we exist as an inclusive research group. We're so delighted that you could share that with us today and that you could also join the meeting today.
And thank you for such an enjoyable day. You're very well versed.
Thank you. I'm so glad you're enjoying it.
Great speakers here today. Great speakers, very intelligent.
Thank you so much. I can see that Brian has raised his hand. Brian.
Yeah. I have to go now.
Oh, okay, Brian, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll share the recording of this meeting afterwards.
Yeah, share it in email or something.
We will do. Thank you so much.
Are you sure you don't want to sing a song before you go, Brian?
No. You can do that, Rob. You're the singer.
Sounds like he's handed the mantle to you, Rob.
No, I think we should go around the world now. Let's get somebody out of our own comforting zone. There's a gentleman from Germany there. Is it Gerard? He's dying to sing as a German song. Stille Nacht. Go for it, Gerard.
I'm from Holland.
Holland.
Rob.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Lovely. Excellent. You're on. You've got.
Maybe I can play a little guitar.
Oh, lovely.
But just some chords. I don't know any melody.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we could make it. We could do a brilliant improvisation here of in our own languages, all in our own languages. We can do something that really says something about being inclusive.
Yeah. On your way.
And we're
off. I just do some chords. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe when I thank you.
That was really lovely. Thank you. And thank you for doing that spontaneously without any preparation or any warning that you might do that. So that's really lovely. And I know that there is so many talented people on the call today. I'm aware that we have been together for nearly 2 hours, and I'm so grateful that you have joined us for all of this time. I would like to bring the meeting to a close now. And just before we end the meeting, I wanted to say thank you very much for spending time with us today. Thank you especially to everybody who made this event possible. A special thanks to Alice Skippers from the Disability Network in the Netherlands, and Ederna Iriarte Garcia, who's at Trinity College in Dublin, who really started this group and have championed the vision, as well as Fionn Crombie Angus and Jonathan Angus, who have been so important in making sure that this group was formed at the beginning and in bringing us to the point that we are able to share this work with you today. I'd also like to thank all of the steering group members, Sophie Sargent, Henriette, who's not with us today, Rob and Pauline, Orla, Brian, and everybody else who has given their support in not only joining the group, but also giving our support for making us an official group as part of the IACID network. I'd also like to, I know that many of you on the call today are already members of IACID and are official members of this group. For those who are not, we'll share information after the meeting so that you can join for free and to join up and take part in activities that we do as part of this inclusive research in the future. As I've mentioned a few times, this meeting is recorded. We will share the link with you after the meeting and also put it up on our YouTube channel, which some of you might have already seen the YouTube video invitation for the meeting. So I will share that information afterwards. And I will just hand over to Fionn to close the meeting for us.
Yes, I echo all those thanks, and I especially want to thank Colleen for her contribution as well. And we don't want to leave without sharing one more gift. We will be hosting inclusive research gatherings every year, starting with our first online seminar on March the 30th. Add it to your calendar. Make sure we have your your email addresses for our mailing list. And please send ideas for contributions highlighting ways to carry out research inclusively. We are particularly interested in artistic and creative presentations. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Yeehaw! Yeehaw! Happy Noel!
Thank you, everyone, and goodbye. We hope that you have a restful time over the next few weeks. Thank you again for joining us. Bye, everyone.
Au revoir.
Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Tot ziens.
Tot ziens.
Tot volgend jaar.
Ding hao to ding hao.